Before your eyes even open, before your feet touch the floor, let this be your sacred pause, a holy inhale where Psalm 91 surrounds your soul, not as ritual, but as refuge. This is not just another entry on your calendar, it's a divine beginning. God's message today is not for the masses, it is for you. Jesus covers your first breath, enfolds your spirit, and wraps you in the healing meditation of His presence. The world may whisper fear, warn of dangers seen and unseen, and fill your mind with the weight of what-ifs. But in the secret place of the Most High, anxiety loses its power. God says, "Rest here. You are not meant to rise and carry every weight alone." Every dawn is a spiritual awakening, not a test of endurance, but an invitation to be healed in the shadow of divine love. With Jesus as your covering, you do not begin this day alone. You begin it shielded, chosen, and seen. Breathe deep, for your safety and peace do not come from your own strength, but from the arms of the Shepherd. Let your morning prayer become a conversation, not a checklist. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. This is not escape from sleeplessness or fear, but restoration for every anxious soul. Pope Leo Kek teaches, every morning is an invitation to receive, not achieve, divine protection. Let his words soak into the places where you've been carrying pain alone. You are safe, you are loved, you are held. Hear the stories of those who found Jesus after ruin, homeless, addicted, forgotten, and who now rise each morning in the identity of a beloved child of God. You are not behind. You are not unworthy. You are covered by a promise older than your worries and stronger than today's fears. Even now, God's message is wrapping your soul in peace that surpasses understanding. How would your morning change if you truly believed you were already protected? What could you surrender if you trusted His covering more than your own plans? Today, Jesus stands between you and every threat, visible and unseen. Psalm 91 is not simply words, it is your armor. Meditation is not passive, it is power. Let your soul awaken to this truth. You are not called to strive for peace, you are called to receive it. Rise and declare, I am safe in God. I am whole in Jesus. I rest today in divine protection. Let the sacred promise of Psalm 91 guide you through every moment, and may your heart walk forward in stillness and strength. If this prayer has covered you, share it, because someone you love may be quietly longing to feel this shelter too. In the quiet before the day's demands, when anxiety slips into your chest and fear threatens to control your thoughts, pause right here, right now, and breathe in the truth. Jesus is already near. His love is not only a comfort but a shelter, a real covering that wraps your mind and spirit in sacred safety. Many wake to a world that feels unpredictable. Anxiety rises with the sun, and thoughts of danger or harm make the heart race before the day has even begun. But this morning is a sacred invitation, not to fight your battles in your own strength, but to rest under God's message of protection and healing. The need for safety is as old as the human soul. You are not alone in this struggle. The God of Psalm 91 promises, whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. Before the world can touch you, Jesus has already surrounded you. Let that be your first breath. You are not meant to shoulder every fear at sunrise. God's message today is simple. Let go. Let Christ stand between you and the storm. This meditation is not about escaping trouble, but embracing His assurance within it. You do not have to fight every battle before breakfast. Instead, you are invited to let Jesus cover you, to step into a spiritual healing that soothes more than just surface worries. It reaches deep, calming the root of every anxious thought. Pope Leo XXVIII reminds us, meditation is not the absence of fear, but the arrival of holy assurance. Let your morning meditation focus on His faithfulness. I am with you. Do not be afraid. In that truth, anxiety loses its voice, and sleeplessness yields to restful assurance. Imagine His Spirit quieting the waves of worry, gently washing away each fear with the certainty of His promise. Right here is where healing begins, not in strength, but in surrender. What if your entire day shifted because you let God's message become the loudest voice in your heart? In every moment of unrest, return to the living affirmations of Psalm 91. I am sheltered, I am watched over, I am covered in divine protection. Speak it out loud. God is my refuge and my fortress. Let this meditation be your anchor, your sacred rhythm of returning to God's peace every time fear tries to rise. If your heart feels fragile today, know this: Jesus is your shield, your silent defender, your hope at dawn. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are covered in the promise of divine protection. And if this morning prayer brought you back to peace, share it with someone who may be waking up in the storm. Because sometimes, the most courageous thing we can do is remind another soul that there is a shelter, and his name is Jesus. Sometimes, dawn arrives after a night of tossing and turning, your mind heavy with worries that refuse to quiet. Sleeplessness is not just a physical struggle, it's a spiritual ache, a silent cry for peace that no routine can resolve. In those fragile morning moments, God's message today breaks through the night's heaviness with sacred clarity. You are not alone, and you are not unprotected. Divine protection is not something you must earn through flawless faith. It is a gift freely given in your most vulnerable hours. Psalm 91 opens wide its arms to you. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. This promise is not poetic metaphor. It is your reality when you yield your unrest into His care. Pope Leo II once said that surrender is the beginning of divine protection, not the end of fear. As you rise from your restless night, don't strive, receive. Let your first breath be an act of yielding to the God who never sleeps. Jesus stands at the threshold of your day, not with demands but with healing. He whispers peace into the places where worry screams, gently covering your scattered thoughts with the assurance of His presence. The shepherd of your soul does not require your strength, only your trust. As you pray this morning, imagine Him quieting your anxious spirit, replacing the weight of fear with the comfort of Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He restores my soul. You are not called to control every outcome or predict every threat. You are called to dwell, to rest, to believe that His protection began long before the sun rose. Even your sleepless hours were not unseen. They were held in His hands. In this sacred stillness, spiritual healing begins, not in fixing, but in letting go. Let your prayer be honest, even if your faith feels fragile. Speak it out loud. I am guarded by divine protection. I am restored by God's love. I am safe within His promise. These are not just comforting words. They are your spiritual armor, formed in truth. What would happen if you believed God's message was written specifically for your weary heart? What if your entire morning shifted because you trusted that Jesus was already at work in what you feared most? This is not just a new day, it is a divine beginning. Share this prayer with someone you love, someone who may be waking from their own restless night. Today, you are watched over. Today, you are covered. Today, you walk forward not alone, but shielded by the love that never sleeps. There are mornings when the weight of yesterday's worries follows you into the light, casting shadows over your heart before the day even begins. But spiritual healing is not a distant miracle reserved for the fearless. It's a quiet gift that meets you right where you are, in the in-between spaces of anxiety and grace. Before the world asks anything of you, God's message today is simple. You are already loved. You are already covered. This love is not earned by perfect peace or unwavering faith. It arrives in the softness of surrender. As you sit in this moment of morning prayer, imagine Jesus beside you, the healer of restless souls, gently replacing your fear with peace. The promises of Psalm 91 whisper over your soul. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. In this shelter your wounds are not ignored but tenderly held. You don't need to conquer anxiety before receiving comfort. You are invited to receive and let the healing unfold. Let this truth become the atmosphere of your soul. God's love is your medicine, your meditation, your anchor. Pope Leo Caterinus taught that the greatest healing comes not from running from fear, but from letting divine love fill the places that ache. As you breathe deeply, let go of the belief that you must be unshakable to be healed. God's presence is not dependent on your strength. It moves in your stillness, finds you in your weakness, and restores you in your waiting. Say these words quietly to yourself. I am held, I am seen, I am being restored from within. In that space, fear loses its authority and the weight of yesterday begins to lift. The truth is, you are not forgotten. You are not alone. You are being made whole in ways you cannot yet see. This is the quiet miracle of morning grace, the moment when God's mercy meets your weary soul and gives it rest. How would your life shift if just for today you trusted God's promise more than your worry? What peace might rise in your heart if you let His love be your shield and your song? Speak it softly again. God's message is healing me. Jesus is quieting my soul. I am safe. I am whole. Let this be your rhythm for the day, not striving, not hiding, but receiving the restoration that only God can bring. If peace finds you in these words, carry it with you and offer it to someone whose heart may also be searching for rest. God says you are more than your anxiety. You are His beloved. And today, His love is enough for every fear, every wound, and every unknown path ahead. As the world awakens, not every soul rises with joy. Some stir in silence, surrounded by pain, fear, or loss that words cannot reach. This morning, let your heart pause with holy intention, entering a sacred space of intercession for the innocent, for those caught in storms they never chose, for those whose wounds are unseen but deep. Jesus, who walked the hardest roads and wept with the broken, meets them there with tender compassion. Spiritual healing is not meant only for our own pain. It is the river of mercy God pours through us for the sake of others. Pope Leo the Catholic reminds us that true Christian meditation becomes complete only when it embraces the suffering of another. As you breathe in the promises of Psalm 91 and walk gently with Psalm 23, let this prayer rise softly. God of compassion, you see every tear and hear every silent cry. Cover the innocent with your mercy. Lift the broken-hearted into your light. Heal the wounds violence has left behind, and restore what injustice has shattered. You are the shelter for all who fear, the gentle hand for all who mourn. Let this prayer settle into your spirit, not just as words, but as a living posture of compassion. Every whispered intercession, every silent moment of remembrance is a thread in the fabric of God's healing work. You are invited to be part of that divine work, to carry the burdens of the suffering, even if you never know their names. Rest in the truth that your prayer matters. When you hold space for others, God's presence expands within you. Let your soul echo this affirmation. God's mercy covers every innocent soul. Jesus brings healing to hidden pain. I am called to love and pray without limits. You don't need perfect words or deep understanding to lift another in prayer. Only a willing heart, open hands, and faith that God is near to all who hurt. This is where spiritual healing begins, in the quiet solidarity of love, in the unseen bond of compassion, in the stillness where you meet Jesus and carry another's pain into His presence. Ask yourself this morning, what small act of kindness can I offer today? How can I be the answer to this very prayer? Whether it's a gentle word, a listening ear, or a silent prayer held in your heart, trust that God multiplies every offering. Share this blessing if you feel led, or simply carry its weight with care. You are part of something holy when you intercede for those who cannot pray for themselves. In lifting the hurting, your own soul is lifted. In embracing another's sorrow, God's peace will meet you too. And in loving without boundaries, you become a vessel of healing in a world desperate for mercy. Each morning, before the noise of the world pulls you in, receive this gentle invitation to pause, breathe, and return to the sacred shelter beneath God's wings. Pope Leo the Court's wisdom reminds us that spiritual healing begins not in striving, but in surrender, coming again and again to the quiet place of God's presence. Psalm 91 holds this truth. Peace is not achieved by outrunning fear, but by abiding in the shadow of the Almighty. Jesus showed us this rhythm, stepping away at dawn, finding communion with his Father, and drawing strength not from control, but from divine connection. When anxiety stirs or fear begins to whisper, let your soul answer with declaration, God is my shelter, my fortress, my place of safety. Imagine yourself hidden beneath wings of compassion, untouched by harm, held in love that sees you and stays. This is not an escape from life's challenges. It is the courage to face them with calm, drawn from heaven's strength. Let these moments of prayer be your restoration. Ask your heart, where do I run for safety? Into my own control or into the arms of God? What kind of healing could begin if I let the Spirit guide me into daily rest? This morning, you are invited to release the urge to fix everything and instead rest in the one who holds all things. Let the words of Psalm 23 wash over your mind. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. These are not just sacred lines. They are lifelines, anchoring your soul when the world feels uncertain. In the stillness, remember, God is not far. His wings are not a symbol. They are a refuge, soft with mercy and strong with protection. You are not forgotten. You are not exposed. You are covered, cherished, and continually restored. Affirm this truth aloud as you begin your day. I am under His wings. I am shielded by His love. I am whole in His presence. Let this holy wisdom steady your steps and soften your heart. If peace finds you in this moment, share it, quietly, lovingly, with someone who needs a safe place to land. God's message today is not only for your healing, but for your becoming, a soul that reflects His peace to others. Each time you return to His shelter, you are renewed, reshaped, and reminded of who holds your life. Let that truth be the foundation of your day, and may His protection be the place from which all things begin. There is sacred freedom in loosening your grip, the kind of release that quiets the soul and reminds you that you don't have to carry everything or control every unknown. Morning prayer is not a performance, but a returning, a soft surrender into the hands of the shepherd who sees what you cannot. Pope Leo the Cantor's wisdom reminds us that spiritual healing is often born in the act of letting go, where trust grows stronger than fear, and surrender runs deeper than striving. God's message today is not to strive, but to follow, to step into the gentle rhythm of Psalm 23. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. This is your invitation to breathe, to stop bracing, and to believe that you are already being led, even when the path ahead is unclear. The shepherd is already making a way through every shadow and silence. You are not asked to know the future. You are asked to trust the one who holds it. With open hands, release the burdens, the deadlines, the constant need for certainty. Let your soul say what your lips may not yet know how to pray. Jesus, I give you the burdens I cannot carry. Guide me, restore my soul. This moment of morning prayer is not about gaining control. It's about returning to the one who never left your side. What are you still trying to control that is quietly exhausting your spirit? What might happen if you trusted God with just one worry today? The stillness of God's love is ready to meet you in that release. Pope Leo the Court once said, letting go is not losing. It is making space for divine strength. In surrender, you don't shrink, you heal, you remember who carries you. Affirm this promise over your day. I am guided, I am protected, I am cherished by the Shepherd. When anxiety rises and control tempts you to take back the reins, let this meditation draw you into deeper trust. This is not the end of responsibility, it is the beginning of peace. Share this truth with someone else who feels overwhelmed today. Tell them that God's way is better than anything we could build on our own. As you release control, you create holy space for the Spirit to breathe, to move, to transform your day from chaos into calm. This is the essence of morning prayer. Not flawless faith, but a quiet knowing that today is safe, and so are you, in God's loving hands. Some mornings arrive with storms already brewing, anxious thoughts, heavy hearts, fears you can't quite name. Before the day even begins, your soul may feel tossed in waves of uncertainty. Will I be strong enough, safe enough, calm enough? In moments like these, morning prayer becomes more than ritual. It becomes your anchor. Psalm 91 promises shelter, not from the storm itself, but within it. And Pope Leo Catterpole's wisdom reminds us that true strength is not found in control or denial, but in choosing to be held by the one who never wavers. Jesus himself knew the weight of restless nights and the ache of anxiety, yet he invites us to hear the same message he spoke to the winds and waves. Peace, be still. Spiritual healing does not ignore the storm. It anchors you in the deeper truth that God's love is stronger, closer, and more certain than any chaos you face. When the winds rise and your thoughts begin to swirl, pause and breathe. Where do I run when anxiety strikes? Ask yourself, what would it mean to let Jesus be my steady place? Pope Leo IV once said, meditation is not escape, it is encounter. This is the invitation of Christian meditation, to stop bracing against the storm and instead rest in the shelter of divine presence. Speak the promises of Psalm 23 and Psalm 91 over your heart. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. These words are not wishful, they are weapons of peace, binding your soul to the unshakable presence of God. You do not have to silence the storm, you only have to listen for the one who walks through it with you. Affirm this truth aloud. I am not alone, I am sheltered, I am anchored in Christ. Let each breath tie you tighter to God's faithful presence. This is not about pretending the trouble isn't real. It's about discovering that God's love is more real still. If peace begins to find you in this quiet moment, share it with someone else facing their own waves. A simple word, a whispered prayer, can become shelter for another. Today, let the storm drive you, not into fear, but deeper into Jesus, where even in the fiercest winds your soul can rest and hope can rise again. As a new day unfolds and light begins to touch the edges of your world, you may notice anxiety rising before anything else. A tightness in your chest, a quiet unease that echoes louder than the morning stillness. This is the moment to return, not to control, not to perfect, but to God. Morning prayer is your sacred turning point, your invitation to rest in divine protection that renews each day like the sun. God's message today is not a demand to suppress your fear, but a gentle assurance that you are seen, loved, and shielded. Psalm 91 offers more than comfort. It promises a covering that does not expire, a refuge made new every dawn for all who seek it. You are not disqualified by your anxiety. You are welcomed into God's presence with every trembling breath. Pope Leo XIV reminds us that spiritual healing grows in the soil of surrender. When we stop gripping our worries and start offering them to the one who never sleeps. You do not have to fix everything. Jesus never asked you to carry the weight alone. Instead, he whispers, let me quiet your anxious thoughts. Let me carry what feels too heavy. Let me be your shelter. With each breath, turn your attention from fear to faith, not blind optimism, but rooted trust in the God who surrounds you. Ask yourself, What would today look like if I truly believed I was under divine protection? How would I move differently if God's care, not anxiety, shaped my choices? Picture the day unfolding under a shield of peace, not because everything is easy, but because you are not alone in any of it. God is present, active and attentive to every detail of your heart. This is the promise. You are already held. Now speak this truth gently over yourself. I am resting in God's daily protection. I am not alone in my anxiety. I am covered in love and safety. Let this be your morning meditation, a pause not to escape your reality, but to receive strength for it. And if peace finds your heart in this stillness, offer that peace forward. Share this prayer with someone else who needs to remember that they, too, are worthy of God's covering. The holy work of the morning is not striving, but surrender. Today, let each anxious thought become an offering laid in the hands of a Father who never wearies. Let your soul rest beneath His promise and walk through this day anchored in divine care. Beneath the quiet weight of morning anxiety, there's often a deeper ache, the longing to know you are more than your mistakes, more than your fears, more than the names the world has given you. In the stillness of morning prayer, God's message today rises like light through darkness. You are not defined by shame, but by my love. Jesus doesn't ask for perfection. He meets you in your brokenness and speaks healing into your identity. This is the beginning of spiritual awakening. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of grace. Pope Leo the Catholic reminds us that true meditation is the act of opening your heart fully to God, not to examine every flaw, but to uncover the truth that you are already beloved, already chosen. Psalm 91 and Psalm 23 declare this identity again and again. You are sheltered beneath His wings, restored by His hand, led by the Good Shepherd into peace and purpose. In the safety of His presence, shame cannot lead you. Grace does. You are not your past. You are not your lowest moment. You are God's beloved child, made new in Christ. So as this day begins, ask yourself, what names or burdens am I still carrying that God has already removed? What would shift in my spirit if I believed I was chosen, not condemned? Jesus is not reminding you of where you failed. He's revealing who you are becoming. Let your morning meditation be this prayer. Lord, awaken me to my worth in your eyes. Set me free from every voice that speaks shame. Let me begin this day in the shelter of your grace. With every breath, affirm this truth. In Christ, I am made new. I am safe, whole, and chosen for this day. Let this identity be more than words. Let it be the ground beneath your feet, the air you breathe, the light you carry. You are not walking through today as a person trying to earn God's love. You're walking as one who already has it. And if these words reach your soul, pass them on. Someone near you may still be wearing old labels, still wondering if they belong. Share this truth not just with your lips, but with your presence. Grace is for all, healing is near, and identity in Christ is the beginning of peace. Today, may your soul rise, not with fear, but with the confidence of being seen, chosen, and forever held in love. Some mornings begin not with clarity, but with a flood of doubt, questions that rise before the sun and worries that sit heavy on your chest. But it's in these vulnerable hours that God's message today arrives as healing rain. You are not forgotten, not disqualified by fear, and not alone in the weight you carry. Jesus meets you here, not once you've figured it all out, but exactly where you are. Morning prayer becomes your refuge, the quiet place where the one who calmed the sea now whispers peace to your storm-tossed thoughts. Pope Leo the Catholic reminds us that God does not wait for perfect faith. He brings spiritual healing to the uncertain, comfort to the weary, and truth to the anxious. Psalm 91 promises that even when fear surrounds, you are sheltered, covered, and secure beneath divine wings. Scripture is not just text, it is medicine, strength, and the voice of the shepherd calling you to rest. Let this moment be more than routine. Let it become the turning point where you allow God to rewrite the narrative of your day. Instead of letting fear dictate your first steps, let divine assurance shape your outlook. Say softly, "I am held in God's compassion. I am strengthened by His presence. I am guided by His wisdom." These are not empty affirmations, they are truths rooted in a God who sees you, knows you, and walks with you. Reflect now. What would shift in your spirit if every troubling thought became an invitation for God's healing word to enter? How would your morning transform if Jesus became the loudest voice in your soul? This is the sacred invitation of today, not to rise in your own strength, but to rest in God's unwavering love. Whisper it again. Today, God's healing word is for me. My heart is open to receive His encouragement. And if these words bring light to your inner storm, don't keep them to yourself. Share this meditation with someone who needs to know that peace is still possible, that healing is still coming, and that God is already speaking over every broken place. In this exchange of prayer and presence, we remind one another of the most beautiful truth. God walks with us, especially in the moments we need Him most. When life feels too heavy and loneliness begins to press on your spirit, God's message today gently reaches into that space with truth. You are not alone. Before the day demands anything of you, morning prayer becomes your sacred reminder that divine shelter is already wrapped around you. Jesus, your constant companion, lifts your burdens and walks beside you, not just in your strength, but especially in your weakness. Spiritual healing begins the moment you stop trying to carry everything by yourself and let God's presence be your refuge. Pope Leo Textor often reminded us that real strength is born in surrender, in choosing to rest beneath the covering of a love that never leaves. Psalm 91 speaks of this sanctuary, where anxious thoughts are quieted and sleepless hearts are comforted. Psalm 23 promises restoration beside still waters, a guiding presence even through the darkest valleys. Ask yourself this morning, where have I been trying to hold everything alone? What if I allowed God to step in and carry what weighs me down? Whisper softly, God says, I am never alone. I am sheltered, restored, and protected in His love. This is not a wish, it's a promise, woven through Scripture and echoed in every quiet moment of faith. Let these words be your morning anchor, a declaration that shapes your day with peace instead of pressure. Reflect on how your outlook might shift if you embraced the truth that the Creator of the universe walks every step with you, offering comfort and direction in every season. You don't have to prove your worth to receive this care. You don't need flawless faith to be welcomed into divine protection. God is near, not just watching, but holding, guiding, healing. If this truth brings peace to your heart, let it ripple outward. Share it with someone who feels forgotten, someone carrying hidden burdens of their own. Speak this affirmation with quiet confidence. I am not alone. I am held. I am safe beneath the wings of God. Today, release the weight of solitude and receive the restoration that only His love can give. Let the promise of shelter define your steps and the certainty of His presence lead you forward. With every sunrise comes a fresh wave of concerns, questions about safety, the well-being of those you love, and the uncertainty of what the day may bring. Yet in the quiet strength of morning prayer, God's message today rises above every fear. You are not left to navigate danger alone. Psalm 91 offers more than poetic comfort. It is your daily fortress, a declaration of divine protection that holds firm regardless of circumstance. Is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. These aren't just words, they are spiritual armor. Jesus never promised a trouble-free life, but He did promise to walk with you through every storm. His presence is your defense, your calm, your unshakable peace. Pope Leo Captivity once said that real security begins not with self-reliance, but with surrender. anchoring your heart in God's word and releasing every anxious thought into His care. Let this truth reshape your morning. You are watched over, your steps are guided, your soul is held in the shelter of divine love. As you prepare for the day, let prayer be your shield and faith your anchor. Remember the promise of Psalm 23, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies." Even when threats surround you, peace and provision remain. Ask yourself, what might change if you stopped trying to foresee every threat and instead trusted fully in the one who already sees ahead? What if you let this fortress become your daily foundation, a place to rest your fears before they take root? Breathe in the promises of God and speak this affirmation aloud. God says, "I am secure. I am safe within His fortress. I am protected by unwavering love." If these words bring you strength, offer them to someone who feels exposed and uncertain. The shelter of Psalm 91 is never too full. There is room for every heart in need of peace. Today, walk forward with confidence, knowing you are not alone, not unguarded. You are safe, held, and surrounded by the one who never sleeps. With each sunrise comes a new set of uncertainties, concerns for your safety, the well-being of loved ones, and the unpredictable events that fill your day. Yet, in the sacred space of morning prayer, the fortress of Psalm 91 rises like a steady refuge, reminding you that divine protection is not fragile or fleeting, but firmly rooted in the faithful love of God. This is God's message today. Your safety is not a result of luck or human control, but a gift that flows from His unwavering presence. Jesus does not promise a life free from trouble, but offers something far greater: His constant companionship, His voice in the storm, His peace in the unknown. Pope Leo the Capasoreth's wisdom speaks here. True security begins when you surrender fear, release control, and anchor your heart in the promises of God. Every anxious thought becomes an invitation to trust, and each prayer becomes a shield that guards your soul more powerfully than any plan or preparation could. Let the words of Psalm 91 fill your morning meditation. He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. This fortress is not distant, it is near, accessible through faith and strengthened by surrender. Psalm 23 echoes this divine covering. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Even when threats surround you, God sets peace before you. Imagine stepping into your day knowing you are not alone, not exposed, but fully covered by love that never falters. Let prayer be your first response. Not worry, not fear, but a holy turning toward the one who already holds your steps. Ask yourself, how would your life shift if safety no longer depended on your strength but on your shepherd's care? What would change if you believed God was actively guarding every detail of your life? Speak this truth aloud as you rise. God says, I am secure. I am safe within His fortress. I am protected by unwavering love. Let it settle deep in your spirit, rewriting your responses, recentering your emotions, and reminding you that no fear can dismantle what God has built around you. If this prayer strengthens you, carry its blessing into your interactions today. Share it gently with someone walking through fear. Let the assurance of Psalm 91 reach beyond your heart to theirs. The fortress of God is never too small or too far. It is wide enough to welcome every anxious soul. Today, let faith become your protection, and let prayer be your daily refuge. Sometimes the exhaustion of yesterday lingers, clouding your morning with fatigue and leaving your spirit heavy before the day even begins. When sleeplessness wraps around your thoughts and rest feels out of reach, God's message today is not to press forward with force, but to return gently, quietly, to His peace. Christian meditation for sleep is not just for the nighttime hours. It is a healing rhythm that continues into the morning, reminding you that God's presence meets you in every moment of restlessness. Pope Leo the Cantor's wisdom assures us that peace is not found in control, but in surrender. Let the promises of Psalm 91 and Psalm 23 wrap around you now like a comforting embrace, whispering that you are protected, seen, and loved, even in your weariness. Jesus invites you to trade your restless thoughts for divine stillness, to breathe deeply and remember that peace is not earned, it's given. As you step into this new day, imagine the calm of green pastures and the shadow of divine wings covering you. You don't need to have everything together to begin. You simply need to come, just as you are, to the one who restores. Ask yourself, what would it feel like to trust God with the hours you couldn't control? What would change if peace, not exhaustion, became the lens through which you view your morning? Let today's meditation become your anchor, steadying you not by effort, but by grace. Breathe this prayer. Lord, replace my restlessness with your peace. Let your love settle my spirit. Speak this affirmation aloud. God says, I am at peace. I am safe, even when I feel tired. Jesus holds my tomorrow. Even when you wake up weary, remember that you are not waking alone. The shepherd of your soul walks with you, holding each hour, guiding each step. Christian meditation is not a performance, it is a returning, again and again, to the shelter of God's love. Let this be your starting place, not the pressure to be strong, but the courage to be still. If this morning's reflection brings you comfort, pass it along to someone who also rises tired. Let peace multiply through your sharing. Today you are held, you are covered, and you are gently being led from restlessness into peace. There are wounds we carry that no one else sees, unspoken memories, quiet regrets, and silent pain that travel with us into each new day. But God's message today is for those very places. In the stillness of morning prayer, He invites you to bring your whole heart, bruised, tired, even afraid, and find rest in the healing presence of Jesus. This is not a call to pretend you're okay. It's an invitation to be fully seen and fully loved. Pope Leo XIV reminds us that we are not defined by the darkest chapters of our story, but by the restoring love of the one who writes new beginnings with grace. Let the words of Psalm 91 and Psalm 23 become your covering today, like a soft balm placed gently over old wounds. Every anxious memory, every unseen scar is met, not with judgment, but with compassion and care. This healing is not always sudden. Sometimes it unfolds quietly, layer by layer, as you allow God to tend to the parts of you that have long been hidden. Ask yourself, what past pain am I still carrying into today? What would it feel like to let God speak a new word over those old hurts? Let this be your morning prayer. Lord, shine your light on my hidden wounds. Heal what I cannot fix. Let my morning begin with the hope of restoration. Lord, let my morning begin with the hope of restoration. And speak this truth over your life. God says, my past is not my identity. Jesus is healing what is unseen. I am free to begin again. These words are not just affirmations. They are promises rooted in the unwavering love of God. If this reflection brings a sense of peace, share its comfort with someone who might also be holding on to pain in silence. You never know how far one quiet act of compassion can reach. In lifting each other, we become a living testimony that God's message is always one of healing, hope, and new life, regardless of where we've been. Today, walk forward not as someone broken, but as someone being made whole. Your healing has already begun. There are mornings when joy feels buried, hidden beneath fatigue, worry, or the lingering weight of yesterday's disappointments. But God's message today is a holy invitation. Awaken the joy that still lives within you. This joy is not a fleeting emotion, but a deep and steady strength born from knowing that you are seen, loved, and guided by Jesus, regardless of what surrounds you. In morning prayer, you are invited to lay down your striving and receive joy as a gift, a quiet gladness anchored in divine presence. Pope Leo Cavexter's wisdom reminds us that joy is not found by chasing happiness, but by welcoming God's nearness with a grateful, trusting heart. Psalm 91 covers you in divine protection, and Psalm 23 leads you to green pastures where your soul is restored. As you begin this day, let go of the burdens that dim your spirit and open your heart to what God is already doing. Ask yourself, what would it mean to allow joy, not fear, to shape your outlook today? Could your morning shift if you chose gratitude before you tried to fix anything? Speak this prayer gently. Lord, awaken joy in my soul. Lift me beyond what I see or feel. Let your gladness strengthen me, and declare this truth. God says joy belongs to me. Jesus fills my spirit with hope. I am open to new blessings today. Let this meditation lift your eyes, soften your thoughts, and restore a lightness to your steps. Even a flicker of joy can change the direction of your day. If these words stir something within you, pass them on. Let your joy, however small, become a light for someone else whose spirit may still be searching for peace. Today, let gratitude rise before worry, and let joy walk beside you as your quiet strength. Whatever the day may hold, remember this. You are already covered, already loved, already invited into the deep gladness of God's presence. Each day is a sacred invitation, a blank canvas on which God's healing can take shape, not only in your heart, but in how you live. This morning, God's message is more than comfort. It is a call to embody spiritual healing in action. Pope Leo Cavexter's wisdom reminds us that restoration is not a future event, but a daily unfolding, a living partnership with Jesus, who meets you in every quiet prayer and every brave decision. Psalm 91 and Psalm 23 don't only soothe, they empower. You are not just protected and restored, you are invited to live as someone already claimed by grace and continually renewed. Ask yourself, what would it look like today to act from a healed heart? Maybe it's speaking gently to yourself, forgiving an old hurt, reaching out to someone in love, or stepping forward in faith toward a dream you nearly gave up. Healing deepens when it moves outward, when the truth of God's love shapes your choices and your presence becomes a balm for others. Let your morning meditation become motion, your prayer become practice. Whisper, Lord, let your healing guide my steps and shape the way I live. Declare this truth. God says I am being renewed every day. Jesus is working in my heart. My life reflects his healing power. If this message awakens something in you, pass it on. Be a vessel of healing through a word, a gesture, or a quiet moment of presence. As you step into this day, may your soul breathe deeper, your mind rest in purpose, and your life tell the beautiful story of a heart that is not only healed, but healing the world around it. In the rush and noise of daily life, your quiet moments of meditation become a sacred sanctuary, a place where the heart can breathe and the spirit can hear the gentle footsteps of Jesus beside you. God's message today is an invitation to step into this refuge, where every anxious thought is held with compassion and every unspoken need is answered with grace. In morning prayer, you are fully known and fully loved. This is not a place you must earn or achieve. It is a sacred space already waiting, where your soul can rest in the presence of the one who calls you beloved. Pope Leo Cavexter's wisdom reminds us that each day is a holy journey, and that in stillness, we remember we do not walk alone. Psalm 91 promises that under the shelter of the Most High, no harm will overtake you. Psalm 23 assures you that even in your valleys, the Good Shepherd leads and restores your soul. Ask yourself, when was the last time you truly let go of control and allowed your soul to rest in the quiet confidence that Jesus is walking with you? What would shift in your spirit if you carried this sanctuary with you into every moment today? Whisper this affirmation with your breath. God says, I am never abandoned. Jesus is my constant companion. My meditation is my sanctuary. If peace rises in your heart, let it overflow. Share this truth with someone else searching for rest. Let the presence of Christ become your quiet armor as you move forward, steady and shielded by divine love. The world may keep spinning, but your sanctuary remains close, just a prayer away, just a breath, just a moment spent with Jesus. Every journey from night to morning is a sacred transition, moving from sleepless worries into the embrace of new mercies. When rest feels distant and anxiety lingers at the edge of dawn, God's message today is this: you are never without safety. You are never unprotected. Jesus offers both night and morning prayer as gifts, holy invitations to surrender what you cannot control and to rest in the promise of His presence. Pope Leo XIV's wisdom reminds us that sleep itself is a sacred act of faith, a quiet laying down of burdens into the hands of the one who works miracles even as you rest. Under the covering of Psalm 91, you are shielded from the fears that visit in the dark. Through the hope of Psalm 23, you are led beside still waters and restored at every sunrise. Morning becomes more than routine, it becomes renewal. Night becomes more than silence, it becomes surrender. Ask yourself, what if you truly let God hold both your anxieties and ambitions? What would change if you believed that divine protection surrounds your sleep and your waking, your endings and your beginnings? Whisper this prayer before you sleep and as you rise. God says, I am safe in sleep and in waking. Jesus guards my nights and guides my days. I surrender and rest in divine protection. Let this become your rhythm, a life defined not by fear but by faith in the one who never leaves. If peace enters your spirit through this meditation, offer it to someone standing at their own threshold between night and day. Let your surrender bring rest. Let your mornings bring promise. In every breath, every prayer, may you know that you are forever held by God's faithful hands. Every sunrise brings the echo of yesterday's anxiety and the quiet promise of something new. It's easy to feel the weight of uncertainty before the day even begins. But God's message today is this: fear is not your foundation. Hope is. Rooted in His word, hope becomes the strength that carries you through. Not because the world is perfect, but because Jesus meets you exactly where you are, offering His steady hand. In the shelter of Psalm 91, you are covered, protected, and never alone. Pope Leo XIV reminds us that every anxious thought can be transformed, not erased, but surrendered, as sacred moments of reaching for God's presence. Spiritual healing doesn't mean you won't feel worry, but it means knowing your hope runs deeper than fear. Morning prayer becomes your declaration: I will not be defined by my fears. I will be guided by the hope God has placed within me. This kind of hope is not wishful thinking. It's the deep awareness that you are loved, held, and covered by divine promise. Let today begin with a question: what is one anxiety you can lay down before God? What would it feel like to walk forward, not with dread, but with trust? Whisper this affirmation as you rise. God says, hope is my birthright. Psalm 91 is my covering. I step into this new day in faith. And if this meditation brings even a flicker of peace, pass it on to someone who needs it. Let them know that they too are not defined by worry, but by the hope that never runs out. Today, under the covering of God's promise, take one step forward, believing that whatever comes, you are walking with the one who holds tomorrow in His hands. As you greet this new day, pause and allow God's blessing to rest over you, a peace that holds your heart steady and a promise of divine protection that no fear can breach. Morning prayer is more than words. It is your sanctuary, the sacred threshold where Jesus meets you with calm assurance and unfailing love. You are not simply starting another day. You are stepping into the covering of Psalm 91, the leading of Psalm 23, and the shelter of a love that never lets go. God's message today is a quiet affirmation: you are blessed, guarded, and deeply cherished. Pope Leo XIV's wisdom reminds you that this peace is not a fleeting emotion, but a spiritual inheritance, yours to claim anew each morning as you surrender yesterday's burdens and tomorrow's unknowns. Let your soul be still in the presence of divine protection. Ask yourself, How might your words, your decisions, your attitude shift today if you truly believed peace was your portion? What quiet act of kindness could extend this gift to someone else who needs shelter too? Whisper this as your final prayer. I am sealed in God's peace. Jesus covers my day and my dreams. Divine protection is my portion. If these words settle your spirit, pass them on. Let the peace that holds you become a blessing shared, a ripple that moves from your heart to the world around you. And as you breathe through this day, let every step be rooted in the security of God's unfailing care, your life reflecting the unshakable truth. You are sealed in peace, protected by grace, and wrapped in a love that will not fail.